Hello Wargamers, it's me Cal from Tabletop Banter, and in today's video we are going to discuss some initial thoughts and look at the Troupe for the Harlequin Codex. Okay guys, so here it is, Codex Harlequins. Now this is obviously the hardback book. Haven't bought many of these in my lifetime. I tend to get the ebooks, they're just easier to hold on to, I suppose. But I really wanted to make a change and get more of these hardback books because they are beautiful books and I like having them to just hold on to, basically. Now you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little slow because I am reading upside down so that you guys can see it the right way up. So in today's chit chat about the Harlequin Codex, we're going to touch on a couple of things. We're going to talk about my initial thoughts, which I'm going to dive into before we open the book, and then we're also going to have a look at the Troupe. Now it's like the Troupe choice of Troupe. You'll understand what I'm talking about if you don't know the Harlequins in a bit. But first of all, my initial thoughts of this codex. Well, it's a mixed bag. I think there are some things in this codex that seem super fun and I really want to try out. There are some things that are a bit forced. The way you have to take certain units. Now I'm not a huge fan of that. And it's very limiting. So I like creativity in my list writing. I want to be able to take anything from the codex in almost any combination without going unbound, and you can do that in, I'd say, 95% of armies. Now this one's a bit different. I'm going to cover the formations in a different video because there are quite a few, but it's very limited in how you can build this army out. So if you are looking to get into Harlequins, I would 100% recommend looking up the formations first so you know what to buy, because there are some things that you're going to probably buy too many of or not enough of, because it is very restrictive. Now I do apologise if I've realised if I sound terrible, it's because I've got a cold. I've had it for like 4 days and I haven't recorded anything, and I thought enough was enough, time to get on with it. So those are my kind of initial thoughts. It's a bit limited, it's a bit restrictive, but there are going to be some things in this book that are just fun to play with. And you know me, I'm not about winning necessarily. I like to win, but I'm more about trying to have fun when I play, basically. That's all I care about at the end of the day. So this is the Harlequin mask. So this is their like combined arms, because you can't take them as a combined arms because they don't have HQ choices. So you have to take 3 troops, and that's all you're allowed to take. You can't take any more. You get the option of 7 elites. Then you have to take 2 fast attack, and you have to take 1 heavy support. So this is what I mean by restrictive. The only option is the 7 elites, and I won't want to take more than 3 troop. Now there are other ways, but it's a bit fiddly. It's not like a regular codex in the way that you can just build it how you like. So anyway, on to the Troupe. So here are some things to note. These guys are expensive, basically. So you could. So here we go. Let's see. So you have to have 4 players and a Troupe master. Now I don't know how clear this is showing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade in and out without you noticing, and then we're going to go and take a closer look at just the Troupe. Okay, so sorry about that. Here we are. This is the Troupe. It's 95 points for a squad of 5, basically. So you've got 4 players and a Troupe master. That's the unit composition to begin with. As we go through the stats, there are some great things and there are some terrible things. So first of all, we'll talk about the standard players. Now, they are weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, so they can shoot and they can hit. That's good. Strength and toughness 3. They're elves. That's kind of a norm. A single wound. Now, initiative 6. That's higher than most Space Marine characters. 2 attacks and leadership 9. Those things seem really good off face value. Now you'll see they don't have an armor save. Now that's really good against specific lists like grab spam, but utterly dreadful against everything else. And I'll tell you why. Because they do have a 5-up invulnerable save. Now 5-up invulnerable save, there are big problems with that in my opinion. Weighted fire is going to kill these guys every single time. They need to be protected, and then they need to get in combat as quick as possible. So yeah, I don't know. I would rather they had like a 4-up invuln. I don't think that would have been broken. I really don't, because it's still a 50-50 chance you're going to die to small arms fire, and you are paying out your teeth for these guys. So just to basically shore up the maths on this, it's 15 points for a single player, which is enormous. It's like, that's stupid. That's more than a regular Space Marine. Now, yes, you've got the high weapon skill, but combat is worse than shooting. Yes, you've got the high initiative, but that only comes into play if you get into combat. And yes, you've got an invuln, but you don't have an armor save. You've only got one 5-up save. You haven't got any, like, unless you're no fear. You cause fear, great. But there's so much missing for 15 points. All the cool stuff comes when you chuck on more upgrades and make them more expensive. So I just feel like this has been either overcosted or... I mean, if that invul was a 4-up, I'd pay for it. I'd pay the 15 points, no problem. But it's just like, you don't have a lot of choice in this book, and now they're restricting you to... If you want to play competitive, I wouldn't take Harlequins. That being said, I am going to try and make a Harlequins tournament list, because I feel like that would be really fun. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. So we'll see. But yeah, on to the Troupe Master. So the Troupe Master is basically the captain... sorry, not the captain, sorry, the sergeant of the squad, but a bit beefier. So he's weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 3, obviously. 2 wounds, initiative 7, which is huge. 3 attacks base, and leadership 10. Now, that's really great, obviously. I mean, he suddenly seems like he is more of a captain than a sergeant, sort of thing, you know, like an HQ choice almost. And you can select him to be a warlord, and there are benefits to it, as I'll talk about in the formation section. But again, 5-up invuln, nothing else, nothing special. Now with the flip belt, which is the thing that's giving them the 5-up invuln, if you're a character, regular character, you still look outside on a 2-up, which is basically their way of saying the Troupe Master, he is effectively your HQ choice. And whether that's good or bad, read into it as you wish, I suppose. For me, it's not my favourite thing. I would rather have had an HQ choice and be able to take this as an allied detachment or a combined arms, but whatever. So, down we go into sort of the war gear options. So I'm just going to scroll down. There we go, lovely. So, the cool thing about these guys is their upgrades. Now, although they're hefty in points, some of them are pretty intense. So, you may include additional players, 15 points. Any may replace their shuriken pistol with one of the following. So you can have really tricked out squads. Now, I know that's not the normal way you should play necessarily. You know, like, don't invest too heavily in one unit. But with Harlequins, you're not getting bodies on the board anyway, so you may as well give them some pretty neat upgrades. So, excuse me, so they can take a Neuro Disruptor for 10 points, or a Fusion Pistol for 15. Now, Fusion Pistol, honestly, is pretty crap. It's range 6 pistol. It's strength 8 Ep.1 melter. But that means that you need to be 3 inches away from something to have a melter shot on it, which means you're probably going to blow it up, which means you're probably going to get hurt by the explosion, and you're probably going to die from that, with toughness 3 and a 5-up save. I don't think I'm ever going to take a fusion pistol on one of these guys at all. You get a bit of haywire elsewhere in the book, so it's not great, but it's all we've got. So, but the Neuro Disruptor, amazing. So again, it's just a pistol, so you haven't really got any ranged attack. The longest range they have is 24 inches in the whole book. So a Neuro Disruptor is 12 inches. Strength 1 AP2, Fleshbane. So wounding on a 2 with no save is basically what this weapon is. Now you've got a decent ballistic skill, so you should hit. So that's it for the shooting upgrades that you can replace the shuriken pistol with. I do quite like, I love the Neuro Disruptor. I'm not a big fan of the fusion pistol. I guess there's probably a place for it, but I just feel like you're just going to hurt your own unit, so I wouldn't take it. Now, any model may replace their close combat weapon with one of the following: the Harlequins Embrace, the Harlequins Kiss, and the Harlequins Caress. Now, excuse me, these 3 weapons are very unique in the way they work. So what I'm actually going to do now is we're going to turn to page 91, and we're going to take a look at those specific weapons right now. Okay, so here we are at page 91, and we are going to look at the Harlequins Kiss, Embrace, and Caress. So they're all pretty simple and they all have special rules. So let's go through them one at a time. Let's start with the Harlequins Caress. So the Harlequins Caress is a strength user melee weapon, Caress of Death. So you think, like, off face value, that sounds pretty awful, but the Caress of Death rule: each to hit roll of a 6 made by a weapon with this special rule causes a single automatic wound, regardless of the target's toughness, and it's resolved at AP2. Against vehicles, it counts is a glancing hit, basically. So, why is this good? Because there are a couple of reasons why I think the Caress is the best weapon they can take. You roll the most dice when you're rolling to hit, because after you've rolled to hit, and then you have to roll to wound, so obviously you've missed some hits. So the most dice you can possibly roll in combat is when you're rolling to hit. So you've got the highest chance of getting a 6, and then it just does an automatic wound at AP2, and it automatically glances vehicles on a 6. That's great. That's brilliant. I think that was a 5-point upgrade. I can't remember whether that's 5 or 8, but I'd pay either because it's just so good. Now imagine a unit. So first of all, think about how many attacks they're getting. They've got 2 attacks normally, plus 1 for close combat weapon and pistol. So that's 3 attacks usually. 4 on the charge. Now you've got a unit of 5, that's 20 attacks, so you're likely to get 3 6s in there minimum. So that's 3 like AP2 wounds without, like, just off the bat, just straight away. Like, that's huge. Okay, the rest of their attacks are going to be pretty weak, but you've just taken away 3 people. So anyway, so I can see that being the one I use the most of when I go to trick out my squads in the future. Now, the Harlequins Embrace is a similar thing, but it has the Embrace of Death special rule. Now, the Embrace of Death special rule says a model equipped with a Harlequins Embrace has the Hammer of Wrath rule, but makes D3 Hammer of Wrath attacks that hit automatically and are resolved at strength 6. Now, excuse me, I think this is the worst one you can take. Simple reason being, you haven't got any AP, strength 6 is all well and good, but if someone's got 3-up save against you or a 2-up save against you, it doesn't count for anything. It can hurt small vehicles, but I'd rather do that from range than get right up in my opponent's face just to try and Hammer of Wrath a vehicle to death. Now, you do get Furious Charge as part of the special rules of the Harlequins, so you will be attacking at strength 4 on the charge anyway, but just, it's so useless. Like, it's not a D3 Hammer of Wrath, you can't always get them all into base contact, so I mean, let's say all 5 do, and even if you rolled 15 Hammer of Wrath attacks, you'd wound the best part of 13 times. But then it's still like a 1 in 3, if you're playing Space Marines, it's still a 1 in 3 chance they're fine. And yes, you've got your normal attacks. So I guess it's the weight of fire approach, but with, excuse me, with Hammer of Wrath, you're never really guaranteed it, and D3 is just, you could just get 5 and it would be crap. So, not really worth the upgrade in my opinion. So, who knows really. Harlequins Kiss. Now this is another good one, in my opinion. It's got the Kiss of Death special rule. So when a model equipped with a Harlequins Kiss makes a close combat attack, one of its attacks will be a Kiss of Death attack. So you have to roll this separately. A Kiss of Death attack is always resolved at strength 6 AP2. If a 6 is rolled to wound, then it becomes instant death. Now this is really good. However, it goes on to talking about, so I go back to talking about the Embrace. You have, the Caress. You have the highest chance to get those 6s because you're rolling the 6s in the to hit part of combat. With the Kiss of Death, you're separating this attack. So you've got 1 dice. Okay, now you have to roll a 3-up, and then probably a 2-up because it's strength 6. Most things are going to be wounded on 2s there. And then you hurt them. But the 3-up, 2-up is less likely than just rolling to hit. You know, you've only, what if you just roll a 2? Then you've got nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, weight of dice pooling is important. You need more dice. Now, the other problem with this is it separates those attacks. So you're less likely to have, you know, like the law of averages. So the more times you roll the dice, the closer you are to the norm. You shrink the dice pool down, and you're more likely to either roll way above average or way below average. You're less likely to be on par. So it makes it kind of difficult to go into a combat and saying, right, well, you know, I'm going to kill 3 of these guys, no problem. And all of a sudden, you're only rolling like, I don't know, 5 of these kiss attacks, of which 3 will hit, of which maybe 3 or 2 will wound. I mean, yeah, that's pretty good, but I'm pretty sure that's the 8.1, and I'd rather have the Caress, just for the extra attacks. But those are the 3 upgrades they get. They're pretty good in their own respective way. I think my personal opinion is Caress, Kiss, and then Embrace. So what we're going to do is go back to the troops and continue our chat. Okay, onwards. The Troupe Master may replace his close combat weapon with a power sword. 15 points now. That's pretty good. AP3. My problems with it lie in the fact that the charge he gets 4 attacks, 5 with the close combat weapon and pistol. So 5 attacks, weapon skill 6, he's going to hit most things on 3s. But he's only strength 4, AP3. So crap against Terminators, which is what some of your other stuff is good against. I don't know if I'd pay 15 points for just AP3 when there's other stuff you could give him, like the cool Harlequin weapons. Because he can take any of these as well, it should be noted. So that's pretty good. Now the Troupe Master may take Haywire Grenade, may as well. Another bit of anti-vehicle kicking around is not so bad. He can take 1 item from the Enigma of the Black Library. Now, the Enigma of the Black Library, they've got some cool stuff in there. I'm going to go over those later because I'll have all the stats for them in another section. But basically, they're like the special weapon upgrades. Most of them are a bit expensive, in my opinion. And finally, the unit can select a Star Weaver as a dedicated transport. Now that's pretty good. It's got capacity 6. It's pretty expensive, but it's a pretty decent gunboat. You've got your guys protected at least of some kind. So that's about it really for the Troupe. I guess they're disappointing in my opinion. I think these models, if you really read into some of the Harlequin stuff, even in this book, they're supposed to be, you know, flawless in combat, like they move with beautiful movements. I would have liked to have seen some cool special rules which tied in the unit together a bit better, because you talk about how they flow effortlessly and all the fluff. So something like that. I don't know what that special rule would be necessarily, but some way of making them stronger as a group, for example. Like, I don't know, if they all get into base contact in close combat, they all gain an additional attack, something like that. I don't know. I just wanted to see a little bit more from that kind of fluff perspective. The invuln is too low. It's not good enough. They're going to die pretty easily. Once you get them into combat, they're pretty decent. With Furious Charge, obviously. They have fleet. They cause fear. Pretty useless in today's game, but they cause fear. They have Furious Charge and Hit and Run. So they can hit and run out of combat. That's pretty tasty. I don't know. I just feel like so much more could have been done. And I always feel like it's missing out. It's missing something. It's just missing a few things to make it that much better. Anyway, that's my review of the Troupe and my initial thoughts of the Harlequins Codex. There'll be more to come in this series where I take a look at the elite choices. I'll also take a look at the Star Weaver, Void Weaver, and the Sky Weavers, getting a theme here. And then finally, we're going to go over the formations, and yeah, that'll do a nice little job on the Codex review. So thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments below. If you play Harlequins, how do you take them? You know, that kind of stuff, really. And yeah, thanks ever so much for watching. It's been me, Callum from Tabletop Banter. Don't forget, have fun.